So tonight, got it. So tonight's meeting is going to be relatively short. As you know, we have a new mayor, and the Department of Health is revolving. So our contact at the Department of Health is no more. So we are going to work for the next meeting, which seems like it's going to be in person. I'm not too thrilled about the in-person thing, but you know, it is what it is. I don't, sometimes resolutions don't really go too far, but I'm wondering if I were to bring a resolution forward from this committee that says, you know, to give the governors, you know, has decided that we should go back to in-person. And I think that we should be given the option if we want to use Zoom or not. So I don't know what the committee feels about that. So we'll discuss it further. But I do want to welcome all of you tonight. And as I begin, I want to share my screen with you. Let me go to this. Are you seeing this?
Yes.
You're seeing,
Yes.
this is the budget. You're seeing the budget. But are you seeing the Department of Health statistics right here?
Yes.
So as you see, we are coming out of a Omicron wave. Everything is decreasing all across the board, which is good. The governor and the mayor has said that they are easing restrictions. Do I think it's a good idea? I have no idea. Many scientists are still predicting that there's a chance for new variants to come up. So, you know, we have to be mindful. So even though, you know, they are saying to ease restrictions, we still have to take care of ourselves and make the best judgment for ourselves. So, you know, this is good. I'm happy for it. You know, it's coming down. You know, deaths are coming down, you know, and this is good. This is very, very good. It proves that vaccinations do work. So, you know, I do want to encourage everyone to take their vaccine. So with that said, let's talk about the budget. Let's look at the budget. David, you're here tonight. This is the budget that was last presented for the fiscal year 2023, and you see the rankings. Bob, I think that you were saying something about a neighborhood. Last meeting, you said something about establishing a neighborhood, some advisory committee. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think we have to look at certain indicators in the community and to find out what would be the primary healthcare indicators in the community. To have a real understanding of, be a working committee on the issue of healthcare indicators. And there's one other piece I'd like to put on the table, and it came out of a conversation that I had today with Ostos Community College and a number of food justice organizations around the Bronx. The issue of nutrition and health is intrinsically tied, and it's something I think we should be exploring as in our role as looking at health. I know a number of other community boards around the Bronx have been looking at food justice and food sustainability. And I think it would be helpful for us to educate ourselves on the issue of the role that nutrition and food sustainability and, of course, food deserts and all the other pieces that go along with it play in healthcare disparities. And that was really the issue that I was really talking about, is what are the main healthcare disparities that are prevalent in our community district? Who's affected by these healthcare disparities? What sort of interventions are in place right now? And to have a survey and a real understanding of the impact, both the short-term and long-term impact of healthcare disparities. We certainly understood that communities of color and other economically disadvantaged communities, and some of the economically disadvantaged communities got more impacted by COVID because of these healthcare disparities. And it's something I think us having an understanding of and a real comprehensive plan of action and recommendations would be an important piece of what would be a healthcare agenda for Community Board 8.
Right. So you're saying to establish a committee that talks about health disparities? Is that what you're saying? Something in the budget?
I would suggest that we establish a committee or working committee on the issue of healthcare disparities. Both people on the board, and there are people, of course, in the community themselves. And really, when we talk about budgets, and I admit I'm a novice, and David, maybe you know better than I how budgets can be expended, that we look at budgeting in a piece for a real study on the impact of healthcare disparities in Community Board 8 and the impact that it has upon those living in this community board.
Right. David, yes, there?
Yes, I am. Sorry, there I am. I think it's a relevant topic. I would suggest that you explore what, if anything, DOH, and you folks know this better, you're closer to this than I am, but you know, our budget requests need to be agency focused. In other words, asking such and such an agency to do something. But in this case, I would try to explore what DOH has done in this area, because Bob, I think you're right. This is quite serious, but I've got, personally, I've got a gut feeling that they've started to explore this citywide. Now, have they distilled it down to the borough and level? Probably yes. To the community district level, maybe not. I honestly don't know, but maybe you're putting together a working group like that could dig into that. I will tell you that Deb Travis has been superb at digging up stuff within city agencies and databases and all public information.
I appreciate that. We had actually, my agency started approximately 2 years ago, right at the beginning of COVID, a healthcare disparities coalition in Brooklyn that has been looking at these things. We've had Dr. Torian Easterling involved and other members of the DOHMH engaged. And while there has been some data collected, it's not as comprehensive as it needs to be, nor does it go down to the, as you put it well, does it go down to the community level. They may have some broad data on the issue of on a borough level. I think that you're correct that if we could establish a working group, or even bring it into this group in general, to bring in some folks to educate us initially on the issue of healthcare disparities, see what is available. I could certainly make the connections within DOHMH. To use some of my both my role as a commissioner and also the connections that I have in city government, to bring in 1 or 2 speakers working with Omar to have really lay out. I know that there's a working group on these issues, on the broader issue of faith and community in the Bronx. Once we've educated ourselves, I think, again, once we've educated ourselves, then we could have people with enough knowledge base and perhaps with the then inspired to become part of a working group. So I would say that one of the best ways to approach this would be to bring in a few speakers, have them educate ourselves, but with the goal of ultimately getting to the point where there could be a working group that would either use the data that's available or work with DOHMH or DOH state to allow that data to be brought down to a community-based level so that we can do a better job of looking at the impacts that's happening within our community, and then look at solutions such as nutrition, such as other kinds of interventions around core healthcare disparity related chronic illnesses.
I think that that's a very good idea. I think that agency people could help you understand what may be out there in terms of databases and how you can analyze it. And I think that could give such a working group guidelines as to what's there, and then you folks can take it from there. But I would also keep in mind that if it doesn't exist, you're not going to do it here. You're not going to do it within this budget. It really is a citywide thing, and I think your intuition is good. It probably does exist at some level, and an agency like DOH could help your working group explore that. But having said that, I don't know that that's going to help you figure out expense requests and capital requests.
Here he's saying, and that's why I said I turned to you, because I'm not an expert in how city-based expenses work within the context of this this committee. Just in general, I agree with you that. So I likewise sit on the board of a major federally qualified healthcare center. They have some of these stats. I'm sure Monty has some of these stats. I think that just Omar, just from I'll step back from and say that just from a committee point of view, I think it would be a very healthy direction to look at educating this committee on the impact of healthcare disparities, and then seeing where we can take it. And if there is a next year's budget, if there is a way of incorporating the next year's budget, whether it's an initiative or other kinds of things, once we're educated through being educated and then through a working group, I think that might be the way to go.
All right, I would like to define two terms. Next year, I mean, basically tonight is largely defining, and next month is, the phrase, so it is written, so it is, I'm sorry, so it is said, so it is written. It's going to be, should be stated tonight, but decided next month, so as to be part of our budget requests for fiscal '24, which is next year. So I just wanted you to be aware of timeframes.
No, I understood that, and
Okay.
believe me,
Sorry.
working on the same thing as a commissioner of human rights, I'm working on the same sort of budget framework. I understood that. However, healthcare disparities have been around for decades, and unless they are truly understood and met and with initiatives, they're going to be around for decades. So waiting a year while you're educating yourselves for fiscal 24-25 would be something that we can certainly keep in mind.
Okay. Take a look at the screen and look at what was submitted before, and give me any ideas. I mean, we could resubmit 1, 2, and 3, and then bounce them down, and then whatever new we come up with, we can put them on top. Tell me what you think. Go over it.
Omar,
Yes.
I may interrupt for just a second. If I remember correctly, didn't we have a discussion with Kira last year about the supplies really being available through the office, and that you didn't need to do it here?
Show the board office?
Yeah, but for
No,
sanitizer and mask and all that, she basically has a supply.
She has a supply, but what she did, let me tell you what they did. They incorporate, remember that old argument you had with them? They incorporated mine into a different committee. Remember that? Yeah.
I just wouldn't focus on it as your top priority. I think your idea of counseling services and domestic violence are quite good.
Okay.
But again, I'm sorry, I'm speaking as just an observer, not as a budget chair. I just happen to think that those are two very good ones.
Right. So maybe the number one, I could push it down to like 5 or something, whatever, depending on what we make suggestion.
Right.
Right.
And just one other reminder, I'm sorry to I don't want to be dominating your process. Just
Mhm.
remember, you're not bound by things that you've done in years gone by. So you have 3 or 4
Mhm.
here. But if you have new ideas, just like Bob came up with a new idea, I'm not sure that it really fits into this budget framework, but new ideas I think are a good thing. You don't have to use last year's, and you're not limited to this number. I mean, I wouldn't throw
Right.
out 13 of them just for the heck of it, but
Right.
I also would not want to see you not be creative.
Right. So let me go around and ask. Yeah,
The
Bob, you said something?
or
Or?
yeah, the Mayor's Office for Community Affairs, CAU.
Mhm.
Are they still doing the citywide health advisory board? I've spoken to the commissioner recently, and they just established a community, faith and community office, but I did not see this as part of their agenda for right now. Do you know if it still is?
No, I think this is what we came up with last. I think we are the ones that came up with this suggestion. Citywide advisor board. Yeah. So that residents could be on the board.
Did they ever implement this?
No, no. No.
Okay. So let me make a suggestion.
Right.
The most needed things right now, and it goes with number 2, counseling services, as David pointed out,
Mhm.
would include it's certainly counseling service for those affected by COVID-19, domestic violence, and other mental health problems. Is the issue of the trauma that both children and adults have been through after these past 2 years is a very real thing, and one that's require substantive resources to be able to provide services to folks, trainings in the community, individual counseling, and then perhaps even organizations. So to turn to, again, going by what was suggested from DSS and HRA,
Mhm.
are there any other agencies that are providing trauma counseling? Is there any other city agencies that are providing this kind of counseling? I think that if there are, to additionally fund those kinds of opportunities in Community Board 8.
Right. Right. We have Project Hope that's out there that are providing suicide prevention counseling. But it has to be a city agency, not a private agency.
No, I understand that. So I know
So,
H has had some serious work around trauma. And I would just, if we could, when is this due, by the way? When does this have to be in, David?
well, we are discussing it. Next meeting, I wanted to present it for a vote and then send it over to David.
Right.
I mean, but you should try to create a preliminary priority tonight so that over the next month, the committee members can think about, well, this one should be second and that one should be first or whatever. And
Yeah, but
then
that's
vote on it next month.
Yeah, that's what I was planning to do. Just listen to what is being said, write it up, send it by email, and of course, CC you on it as well, David, and then next meeting.
Oh, you don't need to include me in this
We
round.
try to vote on it. Okay. Right. Well, I like to include, you know, you're the budget chair. I trust your judgment, you know.
Well, thank you.
You there?
Don't get me wrong. I'm glad, only too glad to help, but you don't need to do that. If I can help, I'll gladly do so.
All right, let me get some input. Sebastian, what do you think?
I'm fairly new to the board, so I don't have much experience with this. I'm just listening and getting.
Right.
Omar, why don't you explain for him and maybe.
Well, what happened is that each fiscal year we make budget, we do a plenary budget from our committee and we vote on it. It goes to David, our budget chair. And then it usually gets incorporated into a larger budget that gets voted on by the board. Then it gets sent to the city.
Mhm.
But what we're discussing is needs for the community. What do you see that may be a need health-wise? Because this committee is basically 3 committees in one: health, hospitals, and social services. So you can look for social services point of view, health, or whatever you think is needed within a hospital. And it has to go to a government agency. So whether it be Department of Health,
Mhm.
you know, or even the police department, you know, those are city agencies, or even HRA, Department of Social Services. That's what this avenue you're looking.
Okay. Do we get any outcome data about our community board? Do we look into
Sometimes
any
we get
data?
outcome, yes.
And what kind of data?
Sometimes we get outcomes.
What do you mean by outcome data, Sebastian?
Like how do
I
we
think he means
analyze?
like if we,
How do we know the needs to give priorities in the budget? How do we prioritize the need?
well, we as a committee has to do that. We got to decide what we want to be number 1 from our committee, number 2. But when it goes to a board discussion, and you notice, David, sometimes it gets chopped up, it gets rounded down to a different number.
Sebastian, let me try to help out here a little bit. These are actually expense budget requests and capital budget requests. Again, they are requests. So it's not like we have a $1 million budget allotted by the city or allocated by the city, and that we have to decide where to spend it. These are really requests that we are making to the various agencies. And HHSS, as Omar pointed out, there are 2 or 3 specific agencies that are directly related. And as a result of this, you will come out next month with a prioritization of your capital requests and your expense requests. And then we will meet with the other chairs, who have requests about parks or sanitation or schools. And then we will try to prioritize for the community as a whole. And one of the things that we have been particularly conscious of in the past 2 years is equity, geographic equity, fiscal equity, demographic equity, trying to be fair across our whole district. So, but your role here is to say, what are the issues that are important to health, hospitals, and social services within CD11 to forward. And then Omar will get to, in about 6 weeks or so, Omar will get to make a case saying, well, this one is particularly important for the following reason.
Yes, got it. Thanks, David, and thanks, Omar. And from my perspective, I think mental health counseling is, I would say, is the #1 priority from what I see. And also, if mental health counseling is available in, I would say, if it is available in Spanish,
Right.
or is it only available in English? Do we have enough
Both.
people who can access in a different language? And I think that I would say because of the pandemic and its after effects while we get off the pandemic, I think that services are very crucial.
Right.
Things like PPE and test kits are readily available now.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I'm gonna push that at the bottom. I'm pushing.
yeah, compared to
Yeah.
the issues that we faced even during the beginning of Omicron, test kits were rare, and now there are plenty of test kits.
Right.
And it's readily available. I mean, so I don't think it's a big priority to the community anymore.
So,
Thomas,
I'm sorry to cut you off. So you don't think maybe I should add something about at least something maybe about more portable testing sites in here, like
I think access to testing was an issue with the rate that Omicron had, and the most of the testing sites, the large sites, were not available. So that's why we saw big lines in front of all the available sites within our community board. But then there are so many rapid testing, home test kits that are available, and I think there are a lot now. It was distributed by the city, state government, various nonprofits, so it's not as difficult to find anymore.
okay,
Same thing with the PPE.
right.
I would
so-
I'd remind you that we're talking about July 1st of 2023. So the likelihood, given the trends we've seen in the last 6 weeks, the likelihood of the need for those things seems very, very low, because we are likely to go from pandemic to endemic. But again, this is your focus area, not mine. It's just an observation.
Right. All right, I see 2 hands up. Karen? Karen, you there?
Yes, it is I.
Yes.
I would certainly move the mental health issue to #1 priority. I think we have seen this with the issues in the subways and people just struggling with all the issues dealing with the pandemic. So Sebastian's comments about availability of testing kits, I think, was a wise one, accurate, and I would, on my perspective, vote for the mental health issues to be #1. Now, Bob's comments about food, that is a tough one to assess. We see a lot of food pantries around that are being overwhelmed, and with the donors primarily, I think, from churches, and the church attendance is down. We need to figure out how to supplement these food pantries and the farmers markets. My opinion.
Thank you. Okay, Bob, I see your hand is up again.
Yes, 2 things. One is I looked up online. I would agree that DSS and HRA are involved with counseling services. I would include into that particular thing, DOHMH has a number of trauma and mental health based services that are to address the request before multi-language, and the Mayor's Office on Mental Health also provides a number of these kinds of services. I think that needs to be prioritized, and built into the language there is also the issue of trauma and post-pandemic trauma. And I think that's something apropos to what David said. You're right. God willing, there's not another variant that's going to kick us upside the head. And the amount of research that's now been done on intervention is much, much higher than it has been before. However, the trauma is going to be around for a really long time. And it's something that we're going to have to deal with on many, many levels, and I would include that in there. As far as the issue of nutrition as healthcare issue, we know that I'm sorry, the person who spoke before. We know that these pantries had to spring up. Many of them are now either shutting down or decreasing their services because they don't have the funding in place to do this. There are city agencies that are directly involved in SNAP programs, which is sustainable funding for nutrition. And I would like to build in something there around food sustainability and nutrition. And what do the research as to which agency needs to be funded appropriately to do that. But I think that would be a second priority. I agree totally with David that the protective medical supplies and the PPE and the gentleman that spoke before is going to be something that's going to be lesser on the prioritization level because of the way that we are now prepared to where we are. So the two areas that I would certainly again push is counseling services, trauma intervention, include DOHMH and the Mayor's Office on Mental Health, and then find out which is the proper agency or agencies within the city constellation that can help increase the amount of funding that is available for food sustainability and nutritional services.
Okay. Okay. Let me get a
Omar,
letter in.
I need to drop off. I think you don't need me anymore anyhow.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll be in touch with you. Okay.
Please feel free to do so at any time.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Night. Miriam, do I get? I know you're about to go. Can I get an input from you? You're muted.
She had another meeting.
Okay, I couldn't unmute myself. I'm listening. I'm really not an expert on this. Trauma, I think the trauma is now and was during the last 2 years. I don't know if a year from now we will still deal with acute trauma. Trauma is lingering and takes a long time to recover from, and sometimes you don't. So I'm okay with, and I encourage support for traumatized people. The food insecurity, I was very much aware of it because some of our patients on hospice experienced the same thing. And as you could tell from my accent, I'm also not American born. It's the most shocking thing, and it's the most heartbreaking thing. So I'm very much in favor of it. I don't know how much the city will cough up, or even the state. I know that some of the grab and go programs have been reinstated. They are funded by DFTA to a large extent. So I'm okay with the points. I think they're of equal importance.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Kimberly, and then I'm going to go to Sebastian.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I'm listening to everyone's input and interpretation as well. I do agree with Mr. Kaplan. And, if we want to talk to the community regarding in health disparities, I think nutrition is the #1 top factor, especially when you're looking around and walking around the neighborhood. How many bodegas do you see in comparison to one supermarket, or how many bodegas you could see in comparison to a fresh food market? It's very interesting when you look at that kind of point of view. I do agree that the counseling services and mental health is a top priority, because I think that's something that's always going to be a top priority. And then second would be domestic violence. And I definitely want to include, topics regarding health disparity, because, it's not just one, it's an umbrella. So if you're gonna talk about one topic, you're gonna talk about nutrition and the availability of resources. And then the second topic could be, we could even broaden it more, make it wider into like socioeconomic structures and whatnot. Like, so there's so much room to play with that. But I would definitely like to see fruit, like healthy living as part of that topic as well in regards to health disparity.
Right. Okay. All right. So what I'm doing is that I'm gathering I'm gathering what you're saying, and I'm gonna write it up, and then I'm gonna email it to you and see what you think, so that your input before the next meeting. Okay. Sebastian, I see you.
Yes, Omar, thank you. I'm not sure if it is something that we should discuss within our committee or whether it is a transportation traffic committee issue, but one thing I've noticed in our community board is that we really do not, we have so many people who use walkers and wheelchairs in the community, but our sidewalks are not equipped for them to go and have that freedom and independence to go where they want to go.
Right.
So we walk on our sidewalks, we could see it is uneven, and how they cannot get much far if they're using a chair for mobility. So now I don't know if this is an issue that we can bring it up as part of our committee, or whether it is a traffic and transportation issue. But we do have several.
It does belong here because the social services aspect of it. So yes.
We have several senior citizens living in the community board. We have group homes which serve individuals with disabilities, and so I'm not sure.
It could be a joint resolution between traffic and health and hospitals.
And it may possible aging as well.
Right.
Right. So I'm gonna talk to Dan and talk to Deb in your way if they want to do a merger, right? Make it more stronger. Bob, is your hand still up?
I'll take it down.
Okay. Kimberly?
Yeah, so I wanted to what's the word? I'm drawing a blank here. Respond to Sebastian's comment. Yeah, it definitely does, it is the quality of life. So if the question of accessibility is something that you see in the neighborhood, I think it's also part as the services as well, because we want to provide the quality of life to all types and all kinds as well. I think that would be a great idea too, if we could do a joint for that collab.
Right. So let me understand now. You're talking about the sidewalk, so little ramp that the wheelchair runs on. So we're talking about more funding for more ramps where the sidewalk. That's what you're saying, right, Sebastian and Kimber? That's it.
It's not just the funding. I think the DOT really need to look into the issue, and also the population we have within this community board. We do have the amount of nursing homes, group homes, senior citizens living in the neighborhood. I don't think our sidewalks are actually equipped for people to have independence if they cannot walk. If they use a walker or wheelchair, it's very difficult. Even if I consider I live by 246 and by Henry Hudson, if I'm using a chair, I cannot get to Johnson Avenue if I have to go to a pharmacy. There's no way, because those sidewalks are not good enough for me to use a chair. So I have to depend on someone. If I have a motorized wheelchair, I should be able to get there. That's something that the city needs to look into in our community board.
You're right.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I noticed that there's been an improvement. I've noticed that the sidewalks are ADA compliant. I've always noticed that the traffic lights are a little bit longer than your standard 10-second, you got to walk fast across the street. So I definitely noticed an increase of improvement in that area as well. So I'm just noting my observations. And Riverdale is a very high plateau area, and for someone to propel a 35-pound wheelchair, including their body weight, it's going to be hard no matter what your deficits are. You would have to rely on someone else. But in regards to motorized wheelchair, I've seen a lot of people use it on the bike lane, and it's because the sidewalks are uneven, which I understand as well. And some of them just prefer it that way too. But it's just interesting on the point of views and whatnot. That's all I wanted to say.
Right. Very important.
Can
So
Omar, I'm going to log off in a minute. But
yeah, I'm gonna wrap up now, but
I wanted to say something. A lot of people have commented to me that they would like to stay at home, and they are trying to stay at home. Riverdale has become a NORC, as you know, but it's very hard to find reliable home health aides. If you have to hire privately, it's $30 an hour. That's out of the budget of most people who are on a fixed income, only the 1%ers. And so I have been trying to think, how can we get more support to older adults who live fairly independently and want to stay at home and age at home with the support of funded or partially funded home health aides.
well, we could put something in the budget for that. We could definitely ask Department HRA if they could assist with hiring more home health aides. So I could actually, that's a good idea. My mom has been a home health aide now for 30 years. So I could definitely put something in the budget and let you guys take a look at it and see if it works. Kimberly.
Yes, so I actually used to work for an organization that provided these kind of accommodations. We promoted individuals to live independently in their community, and the program is called PACE, and it's called Program All Inclusive for the Elderly. It's it's New York State. There's only 2 organizations that provide it, but now I'm seeing more services from different hospitals, different HHA agencies within the neighborhood as well. So they do exist, most
Right.
definitely. And it's just a matter of like where to look for them,
Right. Good. So very good suggestions tonight. I am going to sit down tonight and I'm going to mull this over and go over this recording. And I'm going to type something up and send it to you guys, and you guys take a look at it for next meeting. And when I send that to you, if you want to add additional stuff to it, please do. Okay. So thank you guys so much for coming. The next meeting is going to be the second Wednesday in April. And I don't know that's going to work because that has to be done in personal. So, today I got an email from the board office saying if I want to have a meeting, I do want to have a meeting. I do want to have a good guest, but I'm thinking if we have an in-person meeting and then we have a guest that comes over Zoom. So I'm going to work out the specifics with the board office and with our board chair and see what's going to happen. Again, I wish that the governor would have given us the option where we can do Zoom meetings or we can choose to do in person, but we haven't heard anything yet. I think the board office is waiting on guidance from the borough president office. So, I don't know that's gonna work. I think it's gonna be a mess because I think that sometimes we're not gonna have quorum. I don't think everyone is still, even though we are coming out of the COVID era a little bit. Hey, Steve, how are you?
I apologize for being late.
No, that's okay. So, we have to see how that's gonna work. But
Omar, if you get permission, I guess the okay from the district office or the borough president's office. I have a pretty good relationship with some of the liaisons into Governor Hochul's office.
Right.
I would be more than happy to pass on. I'm being selfish here as well. I'd be more than happy to pass on such a memo directly to his aides to go directly to the governor.
Oh, so yeah, Steve, we were discussing if I were to bring a resolution to the committee about the open meetings law, that community boards or government agencies should be given 2 options where you meet in person or you do it remotely. Because right now we have to do it in person right now for next meeting. So I'm wondering if a resolution from this committee, I mean, sometimes resolution don't really say something, but maybe I could type something.
I mean, but it would really be the whole board, right? It wouldn't be specific
Right.
to this committee. Not,
It
I'm
would be
just
the whole
saying,
board, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'd need to think for a moment about the way in which the sort of board-wide kind of resolutions come about.
Mhm.
I think they can come right out of exec, which is a committee. And
Right.
that's probably maybe shoot Laura an email and say, our committee can do it, but probably it can come out of exec if we want to make that, proposal. That you're saying
Right.
it would be in favor of a hybrid model.
Yes, well, actually it would be choice. You would have a choice where to meet remotely or to meet in person. To give New York State that right. So therefore, if we chose not to meet in person, we can, what I'm saying, you get where I'm coming from.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's I'm an old person, so it's hard for me to
No,
think
you're
that
not.
that participatory government would go on, kind of there. I think there'd be a tendency for it to be online
Right,
over time.
right.
I'm not sure that's the best thing for the society.
Mhm,
I understand it's convenient, and during COVID, it's survival.
mm.
But
I think Steve, I think it's gonna be a mess because a lot of people a lot of these committees are not gonna have quorum. They're not gonna come out.
if you serve on the community board, you apply and you say I'm going to follow the rules and everything, and you don't show up because you have to be there in person. I mean, assuming it's not a COVID threat. I don't know.
Right.
It seems like that's no different than deciding that it's hard to get there from work. I mean, which I lived with for 8 years.
All right. So, but I'll discuss it with Laura. I'll give her a call and hear what she has to say.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
I think the board's probably, aren't we on record as saying like, we want the option to continue this way?
Yeah,
I
but
mean-
that was before now. I think it was way back. When was it?
Well, there was a threat to undo it a while ago too, and I think maybe that's when we weighed in.
Mhm.
But now it's
Right.
upon us, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, the face-to-face thing is gonna be tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good, I mean, I think it's a good idea for the short run. I just wouldn't want to suggest that it be that way permanently. That's just my own
Right.
personal view. Because I
Right.
mean, it's a little weird when you like stop having human person-to-person contact. We're sort of wired
Right.
for a little bit of,
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, thank you guys so much for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. And I will send you guys an email of the summary of what we discussed, and we will be in touch.
we didn't have a quorum tonight, Omar?
Yes, we did.
Oh, we did? Okay, good.
Yes, we had a good quorum. We had a discussion. David was on. We was talking a little bit about the budget. But since as how you came in a little, what I'll do is that I could fast forward you the recording from earlier so you can see it. What I said.
Oh, okay, thank you. I
But
appreciate
I
it.
Right.
think what Steve is saying is, did we approve the minutes?
No, next meeting I'm gonna bring the minutes along with this meeting. So I will type them up and have them ready. No, I was without a computer for a while, so that's why I got bumped up to a lot of minutes. But I presented 3 minutes at the last meeting. So this upcoming I'll present 2. But I got a new computer, so I'm all good right now. So I will type them up and send them off to you for next meeting, okay? Along with the budget suggestions that were made tonight.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
thank you so much, and I really appreciate you guys coming tonight. And my apologies, I usually have a guest, but I don't have a guest because my contact at the Department of Health has resigned. So I'm working to find out who now do I contact to speak with. So I will definitely work on a guest for next meeting, okay?
Omar, you have like the most impressive record of guests. You're virtually a Tonight Show host of the
Oh,
community.
no.
So you
Well,
don't have to
Steve-
apologize for anything.
No, well, Steve, listen, I thank you so much. You know, you're the only chair. Lenora is gone, and you're the only chair that is remaining here. And you did such a good job when you was here, you know, and some of the stuff I learned from you. So, you know, I appreciate your guidance and your help all the way, all of you, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks. So thank
Thank-
you so much and have a good night, okay?
Okay,
Good night.
well.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.